The opinions expressed in this video are independent and do not necessarily represent the views of TBNewsWatch.com or Google Media. Viewer discretion is advised. The Wheelhouse with Gilles Galland.
The NFL has hit the middle of the season, and this week's video is all about the gridiron. After 8 weeks of bone-crushing hits and some head-scratching upsets. Hello, St. Louis over New Orleans? The time has come for me to hand out my mid-season awards and break down some hot topics this season. First off, the surprise teams of each conference, San Francisco and Cincinnati. San Francisco is 6-1 and Cincinnati is 5-2. Let me just say that again. San Francisco is 6-1, Cincinnati is 5-2, just so you understand how crazy that is. Whoa, I said crazy, not incredibly insane. Jeez, imagine hanging out with her for an hour. Wouldn't you just want to be the moose in that equation? San Francisco is pretty much returning the same roster as last year, but new head coach Jim Harbaugh has completely changed the culture on that team. Alex Smith has learned how to not turn the ball over. Frank Gore is running hard with that new contract extension, and the defense continues to be the bread and butter, led by all-pro linebacker Patrick Willis. Plus, playing in a division with Arizona, St. Louis, and Seattle only means a playoff berth for the Bay Area. Look for the 49ers to win the division title and finish with a 10-6 record. Cincinnati, however, is a team that's going to come down to earth. They only have one win over a team that's plus 500, and that was against the Bills. Not exactly taking that to the bank. And this team on the offensive front had major turnover at the quarterback position with Andy Dalton, who's just throwing it down for gingers across the world. But I just don't think this can last because rookie quarterbacks rarely come in and make an impact. Yeah, I know, Joe Flacco, Mark Sanchez, and Matt Ryan, they all made the playoffs in their first year. Call me when they win a Super Bowl. So while it's great to watch the Bengals overachieve, they still have to play Baltimore and Pittsburgh twice. If they could split both of those series, however, they might be able to finish 9-7 and squeak into the playoffs. The Suck for Luck campaign. If you haven't already heard about Andrew Luck, he's a quarterback from Stanford who's projected to be as good as Peyton Manning. As of right now, the two teams jousting for the last spot in the league are the 0-7 Dolphins and the 0-8 Colts. Whoever finishes last in the NFL will win the #1 spot in next year's draft and get the right to draft the man who they predict will bring them to the penthouse from the outhouse. I, for one, hate watching teams tank in order to get a higher draft slot, but something's got to be done in Miami. They've had 15 different starting quarterbacks since Dan Marino retired in 1998. If the Dolphins can continue to crap the bed and keep pace with Indy's futility, they'll have a great shot at the highly touted signal caller. The Colts, on the other hand, are a complete wild card in this. Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know who Peyton Manning is and what he means to the Colts. Or you have no idea who he is and you're just watching this video because you know me. Peyton Manning is a 4-time NFL MVP, and had he been playing this year, I'm convinced the Colts would be much closer to 6-2. But 3 neck surgeries in 2 years, stem cell research in Europe? Yeah, he's not there to be cloned. So unless GM Bill Polian is 100% convinced that Peyton Manning will be back next season, I can't think the Colts would be that dumb to pass on that quality of a passer. See what I did there? Pass on a passer? Yeah, it's clever writing like that that makes me the man I am today. Moving on, time to hand out my mid-season awards. MVP, Aaron Rodgers. This was an easy one. The guy leads the league in touchdowns, passing yards, and quarterbacks the only undefeated team in the league in the Green Bay Packers. He's playing on another level, and he may have taken the title from Tom Brady as the best quarterback in the game. Defensive MVP, Jared Allen. The Vikings defensive end has just been dominating offensive linemen this year, but despite his 13 sacks in overall play, the Vikings are 2-6, and their defenses look pedestrian at best. Honorable mentions are Head and Shoulders spokesman Troy Polamalu and Patrick Willis. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Cam Newton. I love watching this guy play. He has instantly turned Carolina into an offensive force, and now every Panthers game is must-watch TV. If the Carolina defense and rush attack weren't so terrible, we'd be looking at a contender for MVP. But we can't argue with second in the league in passing and 7 rushing touchdowns, so he's got this award on lock. Defensive Rookie of the Year, defensive tackle Marcel Darius. Teams no longer run on the Bills anymore, and he's revitalized the defensive line that was terrible for years. That's why the Bills are 5-2, and Bills fans continue to rejoice and think every Sunday is Halloween. So remember, these picks are based solely on how they played so far. There's still plenty of time for players to sneak up and steal the crown. Aaron Rodgers seems like a lock, but Green Bay could struggle down the stretch and open it up for guys like Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, or Phillip Rivers. That's the beauty of the NFL, is you're only as good as your last victory. Thanks for checking out the Wheelhouse this week. Hit me up on Twitter at TBWheelhouse. Let me know if you agree with the picks. Have a great weekend, everybody.
The Wheelhouse with Gilles Galland.